Okay, here is my week 8 video blog. I'll be going over block models and partial quotients for division. For my first question, I chose 192 divided by 6. So here's how I set it up with the block model. Just disregard this extra 1 and this extra 1 over here, but you just have 192. So I started by asking how many times does 6 go into 1? Well, it doesn't. So we put a 0 at the top. 0 times 6, 0. Then we subtract 1 minus 0, we get 1. Then we must bring it over to the next column. So then the 9 becomes 19. 6 can go into 19 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 19 minus 18 is 1. Again, this is for the last column. We're going to bring over the 1 to make the 2 a 12. 6 goes into 12 twice. 2 times 6 is 12, and then we subtract it out. We get 0, meaning we don't have a remainder. So the final answer is 32, and this is how I got the same answer using the partial quotients. I've never used the partial quotients method when I was growing up, so this is a little bit new to me, which very easy for me to learn. I didn't have any problems with that. So here I just kind of set it up like your traditional division problem. So I started by asking kind of like how close can we get to 192 when multiplying by 6. So I took 30 right away times 6 because I knew 6 times 3 is 18, and then you just add that 0. So I figured that would get us pretty close. So 6 times 30 is 180. 192 minus 80, we're left with 12. 6 goes into 12 twice. So then we just jot down a little 2 there, and then you're left with 30 plus 2 is 32. And you can write it at the top there if you want. So that's both ways of how I got to 32 for the first question. For question 2, I took 129 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 1 0 times. 0 times 4 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring over the 1, make the 2 a 12. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. It zeroes out. Bring the 0 over to the next column. When it's a 0, it's not necessarily really changing the value of the number because it's still a 9 here, but we still bring it over. 4 goes into 9 twice, so 2 times 4 is 8, 9 minus 8 is 1, so this is the remainder since there are no more columns for it to be added or shifted over to, so then we're just left with 32, remainder 1 for both questions. And then I took, with the partial quotients method, I knew to get to 100 would be fairly easy because you can just take 4 times 25, it gets us to 100. We're left at 29 when we subtract it out. 4 goes into 29 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. And then we're left with 1, so that's our remainder. And then we just add the 25 and 7 here on the side because that's like the partial quotients. Just add them up, and then 32 remainder 1 for both parts of that. And then my next question was 163 divided by 7. Using the block method, block model, 7 goes into 1 0 times, so that's 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring it over. 7 goes into 16 twice. 2 times 7 is 14. Subtract it out, get 2. Last column, we must bring it over to make the 3 a 23. 7 goes into 23 3 times, so then 7 times 3 is 21. 23 minus 21 is 2. That's our remainder. And then here I took 15 times 7 to get us 105. Subtract that from 163, you get 58. I know that 8 times 7 is 56. That's pretty close. Really as close as we can get since there is a remainder in this case. So that's 56. Subtract it out, then we're left with 2. So that shows the 23 remainder 2. Question 4. I took 684 divided by 6, so again, that's how I set it up. 6 goes into 6 once, 1 times 6 is 6, subtract it, we get 0. We're bringing the 0 over, even though it doesn't change the value of the 8, it's still an 8. 6 goes in 8 once, 1 times 6 is 6, 8 minus 6 is 2, bring over the 2 for the last column to make the 4 a 24, and then this works out very well because 6 goes into 24 exactly 4 times. So then we're left with 0 when we multiply it and then subtract. So we're left with 0, there's no remainder. we just get 114, plain and simple. And then here's just my partial quotients strategy. So 6 times 100 will get us to 600. We're left with 84, and then 6 goes perfectly in 84 14 times. So then we're left with 100 plus 14. Again, that zeroes out down there. You just add these, and you get 114. That's how I got that for both methods. So then for question 5, I kind of split this into 2 different parts. So for the first part, find the quotient and remainder of 3,131 divided by 3. So that's what I took. I took 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3. That zeroes out. Bring the 0 over. 3 goes into 1 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring the over the 1 to make the 3 a 13. 3 goes into 13 4 times. That's 12. Subtract it out, get 1. Then the last column, bring it over to make the 1 an 11. 3 goes into 11 3 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then when we subtract that, we get 2. So that's our remainder the answer is 1,043, remainder 2. And then moving on to the next slide, this is using partial quotients for how I got that. So I took 3 times 1,000 to get us to 3,000. And then I knew 40 times 3 would get us 120, since 4 times 3 is 12, and then you just add that extra 0. And then when you subtract it out, we're left with 11. And then 3 goes into 11 3 times, so then that's 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 11 minus 9 is 2. So then on the right-hand side here, we're left with 1,043. When you add that all up, you get 1,043 with the remainder of 2, which is what I got here from the blocks model. Then for the second part, how could you change the digit in the ones place of the whole so that there would be no remainder? So I changed the 1 in 3,131 to a 2, so it's 3,132 divided by 3 to get no remainder. So here's how I did that. 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3, subtract it out, 0, bring the 0 over, doesn't change the value of the 1, it's just still a 1. 3 goes into 1 0 times. 0 times 3, 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring over the 1 to make the 3 a 13. 3 goes into 13 4 times. So 4 times 3 is 12. We get 1. Bring over the 1 to make the 2 a 12. Then this works out beautifully because 3 goes into 12 exactly 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. Get a 0, so there is no remainder. So by doing this, our final answer to 3,132 divided by 3 is 1,044. And then here is my partial quotients strategy, very similar to how I did the first part. Again, I took 3 times 1,000 to get 3,000. Subtracted out, we get 132. I also took 40 times 3 to get to 120. Then we're left to 12. And then again, 4 times, 3 goes into 12 4 times, I should say. So then 4 times 3 is 12, zeroes out, we're left with just 1,044. And that's all I have for this week.